Hello, and welcome to the North State Breakdown. We've taken some time off in the past few months and are eager to return to reporting on local political matters that are important to North State residents. Mail-in ballots have been sent out recently for our midterm election. This week, I'd like to speak about Kevin Crye, candidate for Shasta County District 1 Supervisor. Crye attended a meeting in October 2021 where he suggested the board should be taking more aggressive stances against state mandates.
You want to fly underneath the radar, and it's good that we can do what we're doing here in Shasta County, because if we don't make enough noise, we won't get bothered. Other people, San Joaquin, other people are stepping up, and if we don't get some solidarity with the people that are like-minded, because the time to stand up, I believe, is now.
As a reminder, the board has no purview over these subjects. It's important to remember that the Shasta County Board of Supervisors' job is to manage budgets between agencies they oversee, as well as the programs run by those agencies. Their job is to not make decisions about state matters. Crye announced his run for the District 1 seat at the following county meeting on November 2nd, 2021.
They were put in place by us, their peers, and neighbors to ensure freedom and liberty in our way of life and to protect us from the government. That is obviously not happening across our county. That is why I come before you today to announce that I can't sit back and let overzealous mandates, and especially what's happening to our kids, continue. I've decided a louder voice for our county is needed, and in that, this next election, I will be running for District 1 Supervisor.
Crye owns the Ninja Coalition, a local obstacle gym with an emphasis on child and young adult participation. In previous interviews, he has stated that he manages 16 employees, citing that as evidence of his eligibility for county leadership. He is most well known for putting on events during the car fire for families who are displaced. His opponent is Erin Resner, who operates 8 Dutch Brothers locations in Shasta County, employing more than 200 people. Erin and her husband Chris work on nonprofits agencies as both donors and contributing members to causes in Shasta County. These include being a philanthropic member of the Chair of Women's Fund, a court-appointed special advocate, CASA, for Youth Dependency Court, and sitting treasurer for Children's Legacy Center Board of Directors. In 2018, Resner was elected to a 4-year term in the Reading City Council, and in 2021 was appointed the mayor of Reading. Which brings me to the subject for this episode. I want to highlight elements of Crye's campaign. I think it's important for Shasta County residents so that they can make an informed decision for the Shasta County District 1 Supervisor race. On January 11th, 2022, Courtney Kreider interviewed Crye where he answered some questions about his candidacy. Shockingly, Kevin admitted to not originally living in the district he wanted to run in.
So you don't live in District 1, but you...
Well, I do now.
You do now?
Yeah, I do now. And I looked up the rules and I said, okay, well, can I move in there? So Kelly Campbell, a childhood friend of mine, fantastic realtor, started looking for houses for us. And couldn't find a house. So what I've done now is I'm living in an apartment complex away from my wife and my kids, where we first lived when we got married.
He then goes on to say he thought he voted for Joe Chimenti in 2018, but found out he had voted for Patrick Jones.
I actually thought I had voted for Joe, but I actually had voted for Patrick.
Well, this makes sense, because in January of 2022, he lived in District 4. Joe Chimenti is the current District 1 supervisor and is retiring at the end of this term. In the same interview, Crye admits to meeting with controversial figure Reverge Anselmo, who's responsible for nearly all the contributions for both Leonard Modi's recall as well as the 2022 election PACs, the Liberty Committee, Shasta General Purpose Committee, and the Water Users Committee, as well as their candidates.
I'd never been to Anselmo's restaurant, ever.
You're talking about Reverge Anselmo.
Never been to his restaurant. Couldn't afford to go there. Probably couldn't afford to go there if it was there today. But what I did was I got a hold of him. And I flew to Phoenix on my own dime, $874.37.
I find it strange that he admits to not having enough money to dine at Reverge's restaurant, but would spend over $800 for a plane ticket to meet privately with Reverge to discuss Shasta County politics. Speaking of finances, in looking at campaign finance disclosures, there's quite a few discrepancies that raise concerns. Look at this contribution made in August of 2022. A $2,981 contribution was made to Crye's campaign, but under the full name it states pending/unknown. Since each candidate is limited to a $4,900 donation, it is extremely important to have the name of the contributor listed for each donation. Another confusing filing is Crye's campaign finance disclosure from July to August 2022, which states that his campaign to date has fundraised $95,411, while stating that $115,985 was spent year to date. This leaves a discrepancy of over $16,000. This is especially strange because the following filing only shows $61,502 spent. This is a difference of over $50,000 from the previous filing. It shows that either Crye's campaign is trying to hide finances, or they did not file their paperwork properly the first time. It is important because the job of a supervisor is to manage budgets. If you can't manage your own campaign finances, it doesn't set a good precedent. In addition to this, on September 22nd of this year, Crye's campaign made a post requesting that he does not want any, quote, out-of-state donors to donate to his campaign. As pointed out by a comment on this post, outside donations could technically be used as PACs such as the Liberty Committee or the Shasta General Purpose Committee, two PACs known for receiving large sums of money from Connecticut billionaire Reverge Anselmo. In fact, during this election cycle, the Shasta General Purpose Committee donated to Crye. Crye doubles down on this narrative in an interview with Shasta Scout that he didn't take any money from the Liberty Committee. This is misleading. In a filing from the Liberty Committee, you can see that they spent over $27,000 on mailers for Crye's campaign. The breakdown has also uncovered documentation of Kevin Crye's Chapter 7 bankruptcy in Klamath Falls, Oregon, discharging $120,000 in unsecured debt. This includes Bank of America second mortgage of $49,588, Union Bank another second mortgage for $34,333, and approximately $20,000 in student loan debt and $11,000 in medical bills. Last August, Crye converted his business Ninja Coalition LLC and Valor Talent LLC into California stock companies. He issued 1,000 shares of stock for each company. The reason this distinction is important is due to FPPC financial disclosure regulations. Crye would be required to list his stakeholders and his assets on his Form 700, since each stakeholder, especially if they're local, represents a potential conflict of interest. Instead, he has claimed he has no reportable income. Next, I'd like to speak about some of Crye's campaign advertisements. This mailer was sent directly prior to the June 7th primary. It serves as an attack ad, making allegation of Resner's businesses, as well as her time on the city council. Or this one, which message is Shasta County is a revolving door of crime. These negative ads are based on fear-based advertising, which is intended to scare voters into supporting a candidate. Next, I would like to show a series of clips from the April 6th debate that show Crye's demeanor and aggressive candor, where he spends most of his time attacking his opponents and not offering concrete solutions. There is quite a bit to show, so I'll try to show only the highlights.
That one of our most difficult things is that when we are attempting to get homeless folks off of the street is to get them into some sort of transitional housing. It's not a housing first sort of method. It is an aspect of that we need wraparound services, and that's the way in which that we differentiate between the people who need a hand up and the people who need a hand out.
I am all for affordable housing and all these wraparound services Ms. Resner talks about. But I would also love to have the New York Yankees relocate to Redding, California. That's not going to happen.
Next is Kevin's response to whether he supports a rehabilitation center that was recently proposed to the board earlier this year.
So we can't afford it. Early estimates put it at like $300 million. And again, I'm going to go right back, and it might even be closer to $500 million. I'm going to go back to bringing the New York Yankees here. Let's just throw anything out there.
I understand that we cannot rely on the state to fix our problems, but I will gladly take the tax dollars that our people pay to the state back to do something to fix the problems here.
This next discussion was how to alleviate the homelessness issue in Shasta County.
It takes, on average, 8 interactions with somebody who is in a crisis situation like that in order to get them into treatment so that we can actually solve those problems.
And when we talk about more programs, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The reason we have this utopia of homeless is because we have all these programs.
Kimberly Vollmers, a candidate in the primary, makes a salient point regarding mental health programs and is followed up by a startling statement by Kevin Crye.
Yeah, anytime I hear someone say that services are not the answer, I think that they maybe haven't had a person that they love need those services.
My brother, 2015, August 28th, died on his motorcycle running from the police in Palo Cedro. Went through a fence, hit a tree, broke his neck. Sorry, Mom. When people say I don't understand, that's a joke. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. This is how Kevin Crye refers to his brother. I found this statement particularly startling because prison programs that reduce recidivism could have potentially saved his brother's life. Crye spends much of the time mudslinging about subjects like Resner's counsel history and how he doesn't take notes, rather than offering substantive answers about the questions being asked.
When Miss Resner became the mayor, Reading had a budget surplus of $5 million. In the cycle of 20 and 21, it was at a $1.7 million deficit. In 22 and 23, she voted a budget that is a $3.2 million deficit. That's the gift that keeps on giving, ladies and gentlemen.
I heard you say something that is just, it's so inaccurate. It is so inaccurate. In fact, we were doing so well that we had an additional 5% to put into reserves, which is the most amount of money that we have had in savings ever.
And I don't have notes. I'm not just speaking from my heart, I'm speaking from fact. I don't have to regurgitate factoids that I wrote down.
I would just like to acknowledge that I have notes because I think that it's important that we discuss facts and that I stay on point in terms of money and that I don't put out inaccuracies.
Kevin mentions a ride-along that he recently went on.
On a ride-along that I was on last week, there was a gentleman had been arrested 24 times since January 1st.
I am so excited, Kevin, that you brought up your ride-along. I think that it is extremely important for the general public to understand that you compromised a criminal investigation of a man that RPD spent hours with. And you continue to do that by posting online. And I think that that is the exact reason why you are not qualified to be on the board of supervisors.
Next, I would like to discuss a recent radio debate between Resner and Crye on KCNR. Crye's answers were so contentious that the radio host himself, Carlbot, asked Kevin to restrict himself to only answers regarding his policies.
I want to hear, and the people want to hear, solutions to things. Not what they did, but solutions. Instead of, well, you did this. No, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear a solution to problems that are facing us right now.
Are you saying, though, in that past history doesn't
What
matter?
I'm saying is just exactly what I said. I want to hear solutions. And I want to hear solutions. I don't want to hear what this person did or that person did. You all have plenty of time to say things about each other.
We don't want, evidently, to ask and talk about the hard things in this debate or forum. So I think what just has to be done is it has to look at a staunch record of getting along with other people on a council. I haven't served on a council.
As you can hear, Crye was not interested in talking about his platform, only in lambasting his opponent. Rumors spread shortly after this interview that Resner and Crye were shouting at each other during a commercial break. At a Reading City Council meeting, community member Kathy Stainbrook alleged that the radio show was edited, called it fake news, and that it was edited to remove evidence of this altercation. The radio host himself, Carlbot, gave a speech at the very same meeting where he denied these claims.
And the lady said that in this last debate that we edited it, part of the fake news. That's absolutely untrue. And I talked to her out there and she apologized. Well, I didn't know that. But what she did was endemic about what's going on in our political society today. Instead of asking me, did you edit it? No. When a break comes, a scheduled break, by the way, and I'm more than happy to publish the rules to anybody that wants them, that I laid out there was a break. When the breaks come on, the microphones go off.
In a question about bringing people together and healing division in the board, this was Crye's response.
I'm a collaborator. I always have been and I always will be. But again, I'm going to go back and I want to ask my opponent, how does she expect to get along with other supervisors when she showed that if people don't toe the company line, you're out?
And this is Resner's response.
I would like to address two things. One, you can say that you don't create division and do all those sort of things, but last last round in the primary, you sent lies to every single household in District 1, specifically about my business, and you and I both know that you lied because you lied and put the wrong address down. We also know that you lied about the things that happen within my business. So for somebody who doesn't create division, I will sit over here the entire time, and I will be kind and I will be gracious, and you will attempt to skirt the lines that Carl has put in place so that you can create division between you and I, so that you can say to the community, look, my opponent can't be trusted. You should just be standing on the things in which that you would actually like to do.
I think it's very important for people to be made aware of this highly contentious race in District 1, and they should vote as soon as possible. Mail-in ballots have already been sent out, and early voting is currently available. Election day is on November 8th. And that's the breakdown.